Well, when you have a win, are you the type to shout it from the rooftop or have a bit of a silent celebration? Is one better than the other? Let's have a look at the psychology of private joy. Psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens is with me this morning. Thanks for being with me today, Dr. Jo.
Good morning, Susan. Great to be here.
When you think of private joy, what does that mean to you?
Well, I love private joy because what we're doing with that is we're enjoying something positive in our life without immediately kicking it off and broadcasting it to the world. So, whether it be a new opportunity or a goal that you've ticked off, maybe it's even a trip that you've got planned, you're actually just giving yourself a little bit of time to savour it and share it more widely. So it's not necessarily about keeping it a secret, but just being a bit more deliberate about when we share it and who we share it with.
Can keeping good news to ourselves actually benefit our well-being?
Well, interestingly enough, it can. So we know that when we just hold the moment for ourselves, we do reduce that pressure on ourselves that we might sometimes feel to perform for others or impress others. And it actually gives our nervous system a little bit of time to settle down. So, that you get to spend some time with yourself thinking about how proud you are of the moment or how much you're appreciating the moment without getting tied up in other people's reactions. So whilst we might want to share it with others, at the right time and place, there is some wellbeing effects for us, but just having those quiet few moments to ourselves for however long that might be about our own personal joy.
So in saying that, so we're taking some moments to have it ourselves, but sometimes sharing the good news is part of, I guess, staying connected with friends and family. Is sharing not necessarily caring so much?
Well, sharing always is caring. We do know that, and we know that sharing is such an incredibly important part of our relationships and celebrating the wins as well. So I think what we're talking about here is it's more about timing and more about intention. So, if you share it after you've had time to process it yourself, then usually we can experience the joy more. So it's not about not sharing with those that we love, but just being a little bit more mindful and a little bit more deliberate in terms of when we choose to share that news.
Dr. Jo, this idea really sounds like the antithesis of what social media has taught people to do. It's coached us to do when there's nearly an expectation of sharing something or everything. How does social media play into this?
Yes, so, social media, as you say, it's definitely designed to reward visibility and hand us a great big dose of dopamine each time we get those likes and those hits. And I think sometimes when we talked about this before, when we're doing that with our social media and we're chasing the likes and the comments instead of actually noticing what the moment means for us, it really can dilute that sense of self-satisfaction. I think what it does is it changes our attention. We're focusing more on what the world think about our moment rather than the moment itself.
So true. Yeah. Are we doing it for ourselves or are we doing it for the reaction we're going to get?
Exactly. So that's always a good thing for us to think about.
How can we do private joy better?
Well, look, I think just to try it out and see what it feels like. If we know that our typical response to something is that something happens or we become aware of something and we start broadcasting it to everyone, just a little bit of a social experiment, if you like, to hold on to it for a little bit longer. I mean, you can still always share it, but it's giving yourself that opportunity to absorb the news yourself, keep it within yourself or maybe a very small circle, see how that sits with you, and then choosing how you share that as well. What I will say to people is it feels like a very different experience when we, add a little bit of delay there into sharing our news with the world.
Do you think that they're thinking of the idea of, are we doing it for ourselves or are we doing it for other people? Are there some signs that we should look for that perhaps we could benefit from a bit more privacy?
Yeah, look, I think it depends on how we then feel with other people's reactions to ourselves. It's absolutely fair to seek validation from other people, to get feedback. We are social creatures, so I think that's important. But the bottom line will always come down to how do we feel after sharing the news or not sharing the news? How do we feel in relation to other people's reactions to our news and their responses to it? So it's always good to put a gauge on it, and I think it's always really important to be grateful for the wins that we have and to be proud of ourselves when those things come along.
Dr. Jo, thanks so much for being with us today. Do you want to weigh into the great grey debate that we're having today about grey hair?
Well, certainly I am of a vintage that has an opinion on such things, and I really did love the comments that were made by the last listener who called in, who said celebrates each grey that comes in. And I love and appreciate that, but I also celebrate every 6 weeks when I say farewell to my grey hairs. So yes, I love the confidence that comes with what was shared, and I'd be a hypocrite if I said I did the same thing.
I love that we have the choice. That's the big thing for me.
And that absolutely is, yes, we need to live our lives well and what fits in best for us.
Thank you very much for your time, psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.